Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. Malaysia is planning to join the BRICS grouping of emerging economies. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim says for the past 2 months, the Foreign Ministry has conducted a study on the country's policy decision to join BRICS.
Keputusan kita pada dasar ialah untuk menyertai BRICS dan kita akan melalui proses untuk memungkinkan kita menyertai BRICS. Saya sendiri dah cakap dengan Presiden Lula Brazil tentang hasrat yang sedemikian.
Anwar's comments came ahead of a scheduled visit by Chinese Premier Li Qiang to Malaysia, where the two are expected to witness the signing of several MOUs and agreements. Founded in 2006, BRICS originally comprised Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. In January, the bloc expanded its membership to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates.
The government will examine the implications of a proposal to place the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC) under the jurisdiction of Parliament. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim says strict conditions regarding the proposal must be reviewed first before any decision could be made on the matter.
Ya, itu kita harus bincang sebab di bawah parlimen ni, bawah ahli politik yang kadang-kadang juga dipantau ataupun yang jadi kita kena teliti implikasi dia juga ya. Sebab orang politik kalau jatuh kuasa itu juga yang dalam radar SPRM. Jadi kita kena teliti bagaimana syarat-syarat yang ketat.
Anwar added that although MACC is still under the Prime Minister's department, it is the responsibility of the agency to conduct investigations if there is misconduct, regardless of any individual status. Last Sunday, MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki, when appearing as a guest on a podcast by New Straits Times, disagreed with the proposal to place the MACC under Parliament. He said the MACC was the only agency in Malaysia to be monitored by 5 independent oversight bodies. He cited Hong Kong's Independent Commission Against Corruption as an example of an anti-graft agency that is monitored by 4 oversight bodies, implying the strict nature of oversight placed on MACC.
Meanwhile, Malaysia dropped 7 places to 34th out of 67 countries in the IMD World Competitiveness Ranking. In the Asia-Pacific region, it fell 4 spots to 10th out of 14 countries, marking the first time it ranked lower than Indonesia and Thailand. Meanwhile, Singapore reclaimed its position as the world's most competitive economy, surpassing Switzerland and Denmark, which ranked 2nd and 3rd respectively. Malaysia saw declines across most factors, including economic performance, government efficiency, and business efficiency. It maintained its position in infrastructure but ranked 2nd in prices and 11th in tax policy, both down 1 place from last year. The IMD World Competitiveness Ranking evaluates the ability of countries to create and sustain an environment conducive to the competitiveness of enterprises, involving 67 economies in its latest edition. The aerotrain project at Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA, is expected to be completed by 31st January 2025, ahead of schedule. The original completion date was set for the end of March next year.
KLIA's operator, Malaysia Airports Holding Berhad, stated that according to the project's timeline, the new aerotrains are expected to arrive in Malaysia from China by the end of the 3rd quarter of this year. These aerotrains will then undergo commissioning and rigorous testing by the relevant authorities before commencing official operations. In March 2022, MAHB announced the KLIA Aerotrain Replacement Project with a 3-year completion timeline. However, delays led to a new project award in January 2024 to a consortium comprising Alstom, the aerotrain's original equipment manufacturer, and IJMC Pestec JV to steer the project back on track.
Targeted diesel subsidies is the right move to address exploitation by foreign countries and prevent financial drain from misuse. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim says this is evident from the rise in fares by Singapore travel agencies after the diesel subsidy rationalisation was implemented, signalling a long-standing reliance on diesel subsidies in Malaysia.
Anwar also pointed out that subsidies had been inadvertently benefiting 3.8 million foreigners, with diesel being taken out to Thailand and used by fishing boats there.
Nelayan asing dan saya cakap minyak di sempadan dan siri-siri penangkapan yang terus diteruskan. Itu bukti bahawa subsidi itu sangat kritikal untuk negara kita menyelamatkan dana yang bocor dan disalahguna.
A light drizzle in Mina delighted not only the local residents but also Hajj pilgrims from around the world who were performing the Jamrah or stoning ritual. For the locals, such rain is unusual during the summer season, with journalists from international news agencies eager to capture the rare weather event.
Observations in the Jamrah area in Mina also showed that the pilgrims seized the opportunity to perform the ritual under the cooler conditions compared to the usual heat.
Well, today is the third day of Jamrah and you can see this huge turnout today. The crowd moving towards all the three Jamrahs to perform the throwing of stones. And for many, like me and my friends here, we are committed to Nafar Awal, meaning this is the third day of doing the Jamrah, the third and the final day. But for some other, they would need to perform the fourth day of Jamrah tomorrow. However, many believe that the rain, the light drizzles that were gifted upon us yesterday was a miracle. And we still hope the miracle will appear again today, that soothe the scorching heat that we're experiencing here in Mina. Shabizan Johari reporting from Mina for Astro AWANI.
We'll go for a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
Mereka berjaya membuktikannya. Innovaton kembali. Jom sertai Innovaton musim kedua. Jika anda ada idea menarik dan inovatif, sahut cabaran Innovaton. Anda berpeluang memenangi hadiah lumayan. Persembahkan idea 1 minit anda dan hantarkan video secara online. Atau hadirkan diri ke lokasi berikut untuk membentangkan idea anda. Selamat mencuba. Moga berjaya. Tonjolkan idea inovasi anda yang terpendam selama ini.
Welcome back. Anti-government Israeli protesters clashed with police near Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's residence in Jerusalem on Monday, demanding fresh elections. The protests followed the collapse of the wartime cabinet after the departure of 2 centrist former generals. In response to Benny Gantz and Gadi Eisenkot leaving the cabinet, opposition groups declared a week of street protests. Thousands gathered outside the Knesset before marching to Netanyahu's residence, calling for elections, a ceasefire to bring home Gaza hostages, and criticizing the military draft bill exempting ultra-Orthodox Jews from service. The demonstration turned rowdy, with protesters lighting a bonfire and police using water cannons to disperse them. 9 people were arrested, some for attacking officers. Despite frequent protests, Netanyahu still maintains a stable majority in parliament with support from ultra-Orthodox and far-right partners. Meanwhile, at least 17 people were killed and dozens injured in Israeli airstrikes on central and southern Gaza early on Tuesday, despite Israel announcing a tactical pause in some areas of the enclave. 2 separate airstrikes targeted houses in the Al-Nusrat and Al-Burj camps. Israeli tanks had also been advancing deeper into Rafah, where over 1 million people had sought refuge. Most of the population has since fled northwards following the Israeli invasion. Efforts to arrange a lasting ceasefire have repeatedly failed. Hamas demands a permanent end to the war and a complete Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, while Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insists the war will continue until Hamas is eradicated and the hostages are freed. In other news, Singapore has begun the next phase of cleaning up the oil spill that struck several parts of the country's coastline. However, authorities say the cleanup has been hampered by changing tidal currents. The Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore said 1,500 meters of booms have been deployed, with a further 1,600 meters to be laid over the next few days. It added that it was using drones and satellite imagery to track the oil's latest movements. Beaches at East Coast Park and the island resort of Sentosa will remain closed until further notice to facilitate the cleanup operation. The spillage occurred on June 14th after a Netherlands-flagged dredging boat crashed into a Singaporean fuel ship, causing around 400 tons of oil from the latter's damaged cargo to spill into the water. The two vessels involved in the incident currently remain anchored in the western anchorage amid ongoing investigations. Over in South Korea, thousands of doctors have staged a nationwide walkout in defiance of government warnings. It is the latest in 4 months of labour action against the government's decision to boost medical school admissions starting next year. Around 4% of the country's 36,000 private clinics notified Seoul of their plans to close to take part in Tuesday's protests. The Korean Medical Association also staged a rally in Seoul, calling on the government to reconsider its plans. President Yoon Suk-yeol's administration had issued a return-to-work order for doctors. Under the law, doctors who defy the order could face suspension of their licenses or other legal consequences. The government previously issued a return-to-work order for striking junior doctors, but withdrew it as an olive branch earlier this month, although this did little to ease the junior doctors' concerns. For the second time in less than 2 weeks, North Korean soldiers have crossed the heavily fortified military demarcation line into South Korea. According to Seoul, approximately 20 to 30 soldiers breached the line by 20 meters into the demilitarized zone on Tuesday morning. They briefly retreated north after South Korean forces fired warning shots.
In a briefing to local media, an official from the Joint Chiefs of Staff stated that the breach was likely unintentional. Last week, South Korea's military fired warning shots after around 20 North Korean soldiers briefly crossed the border. The official added that North Korean soldiers suffered multiple casualties due to the explosion of landmines in the demilitarized zone while conducting various activities along the front line. These activities, including deploying soldiers and planting landmines, appear to be part of North Korea's efforts to tighten border control and prevent defections to the south, according to the JCS.
At least 11 people have died and another 60 are missing as a result of 2 shipwrecks off the coast of southern Italy. United Nations agencies say the boats were carrying migrants who had set off from Libya and Turkey.
10 bodies were found on Monday in the lower deck of a wooden boat in the central Mediterranean. German charity Rescue Ship said it saved 51 people who were on board the sinking vessel, which was carrying migrants from Syria, Egypt, Pakistan and Bangladesh. Survivors of the shipwreck were handed over to the Italian Coast Guard and brought ashore, while the dead were towed to the island. The other shipwreck was about 200 kilometers off the coast of Calabria in southern Italy. One of the 12 survivors died after disembarking, while around 60 people are still missing. The Mediterranean is the world's deadliest migration route. More than 23,500 people have died or gone missing in its waters since 2014, according to UN data.
That is all for you on AWANI Tonight. I'm Farhana Sheikh. Thank you for watching.